Welcome everybody to MogTalk hour number 3. We have two amazing guests on with us today to discuss Final Fantasy XIV and streaming. And Pook's doing it. He's showing his device that everyone apparently has now.
I thought this was the theme today.
I don't have that.
This isn't the theme?
No, we stopped that, dude. No.
Okay.
No, the theme's diadem.
Well, then let me go back.
But of course, guys, these wonderful guests have been on the show multiple times, and they're both amazing to talk to. First, I want to introduce Mizzteq here, of course. Some of you guys might be familiar with some things that she does. She sometimes has instructional videos out there about jazz or yoga or something. What do you do? What do you do videos for again?
Smooth jazz, yes. I make videos for this wonderful game, and I should probably say I stream this wonderful game more than I make videos, right? Because I put out like a video like once a month maybe, and then I do this quite often.
Well, then I create more videos than you. I do 4 a month.
Maybe. Yeah.
And then, of course, we have Mr. Pookajutsu here. How are you doing, dude?
I'm doing actually. I'm pretty great. Let's just put it that way. Yeah.
Pretty great. All right, that works. Pretty great. You guys are both Final Fantasy XIV streamers, both partnered Final Fantasy XIV streamers, and you both got there in different avenues, actually. I think, Mizzteq, you came from a pretty big scene before you came into Twitch, and Twitch was like kind of an after thing, right?
Big scene
and making videos.
So. Yeah, well, so that's the thing. Like, I basically came into Twitch with the YouTube background, so I used that to my advantage, and when I started Twitch, I basically tried to draw as much from the YouTube family as much as I could, and then went from there. So it was like a pretty smooth transition, I would say. But yeah.
And it became kind of like the main thing you did outside of like you'd make guides every once in a while, but you would probably put more hours into streaming than making guides, right?
Yeah, I think it's just like the nature of streaming, though. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of commitment time-wise, and once you start to get into like that pattern, you kind of want to keep up with your schedule and do all of that. So it eventually eats away at your days, which is it's a good thing. Like, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot of time. It's a lot more. I thought honestly streaming would be less time than YouTube, but I think it might be the other way around.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous how much time you have to invest into all of it, or at least I feel like it is.
Yeah.
Pook, you kind of came from a different direction. You started on Twitch, right? Yeah. And then you built up your own community and everything. And you did daily streams for 2 years. Every single day.
731 days in a row.
Insane to keep that up. And so you built most of your community while you were streaming, and you made it that whole climb up there. And by the way, congratulations on that. You definitely deserve it.
Thank you. It was easy. It was easy with these people. They made it easy.
So I wanted to discuss today Final Fantasy XIV streaming. On the 50th episode, we did the same thing, but I want to hit it from a little bit of a different angle this time, hopefully. We'll see. Maybe. I can't really remember 50th. That was so long ago, so I don't know what we talked about then. But I do want to talk about what you guys have for your experience. I mean, Final Fantasy XIV is kind of a weird game to stream.
Definitely.
Because you can see there's a lot of streamers out there who are like crazy. They're jumping around and they're like doing all kinds of things, and they're really into the game, and they're like action games, or they're like variety. They're like, oh, this is a new game. This is nice. It's great. It's fun. Or they go into like a competitive PvP game. And this kind of stuff is really easy to stream because you're always sucked into it. But when you talk about Final Fantasy XIV, it's not always like that.
Not always, but it can be. Have you seen Milo stream?
Well, Milo,
he could be like crafting, and he'll be like at 110% energy, right?
Yeah, and I think that's actually a really good point. Is that for 14, it's the personality you bring to what you're doing, as opposed to what you're doing. I've actually I've seen the sentiment so much that 14 is a hard game to stream because who wants to watch someone do their dailies? I don't even want to do my dailies.
Unless if they make the changes that I was talking about earlier today. Okay, go ahead.
So I think it's really what you bring to that, and it's so reliant on personality. It really is. A lot of Twitch streaming is, but I feel like this game is really just kind of balancing on that, because there isn't the excitement of PvP. I'm sorry, we just don't have it.
It's all right. I'm building up towards it. I'm making it happen. All right, guys, I'm investing time into it, so it'll happen.
And I've seen some streams pick up during the beginning of progression in a new tier, but that doesn't you can't maintain that. That just dips right back off. So it's finding new and interesting ways to do the mundane. Yeah,
I mean, and it's sad when we talk about it because this is a game we all like love, right? To a certain extent, you always got to venture out, but like this game does kind of you're not wanting to play it every single day. You're wanting to like stop, and like it's weird when you talk about not wanting to do a single game every single day because a lot of streamers who are successful, they do the same.
Just that.
Yeah. You kind of have to because your community builds up around that game. And eventually you can go into variety gaming and everything, but that's a whole different way of tackling streaming. And it's really hard to start off streaming and be like, I'm going to be a variety streamer. No one knows me, but I'm going to stream random games every single day. It still happen, but like it's hard. It's very, very difficult. And getting into the Final Fantasy XIV scene, you kind of get into this little niche community, and it works out. It has its own little flavor because there's not a lot of Final Fantasy XIV streamers out there. So if you get like a decent, like 20 people following you normally, you will start being higher up on the board, and then that will kind of escalate, or I don't know what's the right word. Escalate. There we go. It'll escalate. There you go. Into a bigger followership. So it's good in that way, but you know why there's not a lot of people streaming Final Fantasy XIV? Because they don't want to play it at that point every single At least that's what I feel like, right?
I feel like that's part of it, but I also feel like it's a very saturated game because of how small it is on Twitch in general. It's if you go and look at the directory page for Heavensward at any point in time, you're gonna see maybe the top 2 rows of streams have, and this is gonna sound harsh, decent viewership. And then there's rows and rows and rows of 1 to 2 viewers. Yeah. And we're probably at our best points pulling maybe 1,000 to 1,500 total viewers across the site. When there are other games where that's 1 streamer.
Yeah. So that's a good point. I mean, what the funny thing is though, like if you have like friends and you say, hey, I got like my FC, can you guys support me streaming? And then you could convince like 10, 20 people to support you.
And there you go. Yeah. I've actually, for me, my first 15, 20 viewers were probably FC members, friends, people like that's it. And it's a series of plateaus. And I think that first 20 is always going to be people that are close to you.
Right.
But if you can get that, then you can maybe start to draw people. And that's for people that are building up on Twitch itself. If you don't have yourself established somewhere else.
Right.
Already.
Like Mizzteq. Yeah.
I think it's also like MMOs in general, like on Twitch, the viewership is just not that high for them. It's like the type of game that unless you are physically playing it yourself, or if you physically know the streamer, or like it's part of a guild or something like that, it's really hard to sort of relate to the streamer, if that makes sense, because MMOs offer such a very like a specific experience for each person, whereas a game like For Honor, for example, you kind of have an idea playing a specific character, it's PvP, what could happen, you could see yourself doing it. And then I feel like in MMOs, it's all based on what you're doing, what progression you're in, or can you hear that?
Yeah.
I don't know if you
can hear what?
It's my neighbors are moving in downstairs. So if you hear random noises, that's it.
Okay.
But I don't know. I feel like for Twitch or for a Twitch audience, it's different. It's hard to sort of get into unless you're playing Final Fantasy yourself. And because Final Fantasy has such a very small community, at least in comparison to World of Warcraft, I would say it's like its main competitor on Twitch. Because a lot of the other MMOs are also pretty small and there's not much viewership on Twitch. And it's just the excitement of the content that you're streaming is a little bit different. So it's not like it's bad or anything. It's just very different. It's not like 360 no scopes, action shots, things that like are crazy, or things like that. Sometimes it happens. Like I've gone crazy over like a clemency crit or whatever, but it's not crazy esports exciting streaming. It's very different. So it's a lot more personable, I think. So it's a great game to stream if you're looking to build a strong community, I think. But it's also very hard to get started in because it's so small, right?
Right. Well, I mean, when you talk about getting excited as well for doing streaming for Final Fantasy XIV, it's funny when you said Clemency crit as something that is exciting. You're just like,
it's very exciting, at least to me.
When is it exciting? And I'm like, PvP, that's kind of exciting, right? You could save somebody. And so a lot of things that you do in PvP, any action that you successfully get off that stops someone from dying is very exciting, and you can get really hyped up for it. But the Final Fantasy XIV PvP scene is not strong enough to support someone streaming it, really, which is sad, because eventually that would be a great way to increase overall the amount of people streaming Final Fantasy XIV would be PvP. That could feed into it. But okay. So I want to ask you both what got you first into streaming, and I'll start with you, Mizzteq. I've heard this story, but I'd like to hear it again if you don't mind. What first got you into streaming?
So I made YouTube videos for a bit. I think it was about a year and a half, maybe a year and a quarter before I kind of got the idea, or like the itch, I guess, to stream. When I first started videos, I was like, oh, like there's no way I'll ever really stream. It's not really my thing. Like, I don't think I can speak and articulate enough so that people could actually listen to me, like in live settings or whatever. But I don't know. I think it was like eventually on YouTube videos, people would post comments like, oh, like, have you ever considered streaming? Can we watch you play? Can you blah, blah, blah. And then a lot of the people, or at least there was a lot of good reception to the blooper videos that I kept putting out, like for Titan and A9. Or not A9, excuse me, Turn 9. And so at the time I was like, all these people are seeing these like very curated videos that I'm making, obviously to show people how to do stuff. And they think that I'm this like amazing player. So I was like, you know what, I should just stream and you guys can come and watch like the behind the scenes where you actually see us wipe for like 4 hours a day for 4 weeks or whatever on a boss that takes me, a few hours to put a video for. And I was like, like it was a way to sort of see, or to show people that I was just like a completely normal person. I wasn't like anything crazy. I wasn't that great. Like, I was pretty bad at the game, and you could come watch me wipe, and it was hilarious. And I think over time it just became a thing where it was like, okay, yeah, cool. Like, let's watch our raid do stuff. And then I think my first stream actually was Alien Isolation, because we raided for like 3 hours, and then after raid, I was like, okay, what do I do with my hands now? I don't know how do I Twitch? And people were like, oh, just play another game. And I was like, okay, let's fire up a game. And that's just how it started. So eventually it just became like a thing that I did.
I gotcha. Pook, how'd you get into streaming?
For me, it was wanting to understand what actually goes into making a stream. I got started I was one of the first, well, not the first, but one of the early mods for Mr. Happy. Back when he was still building his stream before partnership and stuff there. It was a community that I had fallen into and really wanted to, I wanted to grasp the best way I could help it as a moderator, because if I knew what Happy was going through on his side of things, maybe I could pick up some of the slack in chat so that he wasn't having to deal with that as well. And so it was really just a matter of trying to find out, how do you stream? What all does a streamer keep up with when they're doing it? And there's a lot of work that goes into it. I found a lot of work, but I started to do that, and I had a few not scheduled random streams back in the summer of 2014, and then went back to just modding and stuff for a bit. And then January rolled around and Dream was coming together, and they're like, and Mel was like, hey, you should probably stream. And I was like, okay. So that's how I started. You were told to stream, and you're like, yes, sir. I got it. I was like, oh, well, I was actually a little hesitant, but Mel was like, you've got a great personality. You'll do fine.
And look at you now.
Look at you now.
Yeah.
Sure. All right.
So I kind of owe it to her. Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people owe a lot of things to Mel, to be honest with you. She's pretty amazing. Okay. So I want to ask you guys, of course, your biggest challenges with Final Fantasy XIV streaming. So I kind of expect, I don't want you guys to say you get bored. And you get bored sometimes. Tell me a challenge with Final Fantasy XIV streaming besides that one. And I'm going to start with you, Pook.
A challenge with 14 streaming besides getting bored?
Yes.
So we can't talk about content lulls?
Content lulls. Okay, you can do it. I'll let you take it. And then Miz has to figure out something else though.
Content lulls are rough because especially when I was on the daily schedule, because I was expected to put something 14 out every single day, when there just wasn't new things to do. So I rolled alts. But actually, I think one of the bigger issues with it is if you're streaming something you streamed before, but you kind of still have to treat some of the aspects of it as if it's new because you've got people coming into your chat that haven't been there before. So you find yourself being a broken record of repeating some answers to questions over and over. So
right.
So I think it's the I think it's probably the repetition is the hardest part of streaming an MMO, which is what an MMO is about, but
right.
repetition. Yeah,
that has to get really annoying after a while. And I don't know how people deal with it, to be honest with you. Like at some point, I would probably be like, all right, I'm going to have a mod, and his job is to answer these questions, and I'm just not going to answer them. And I know they're going to hate it, but at the same time, I just can't do it anymore. My sanity just won't stay intact. But then again...
So you start programming robots to answer for you.
Yeah, people can do exclamation point of whatever the question would be, general questions. And I'm like, all right, cool. There you go. Answered it. Although, I mean, it does kind of help, especially when you're starting out with streaming, to always have something to talk about. Even if you have to talk about the same thing over and over again, you're still moving your mouth, you're still talking, you're still interacting, and so it's not bad, I guess. Is this game worth playing? That question, I'm so tired of that question.
What job should I play?
Oh.
Does this game cost money?
Yeah. Oh my God. It gets old. It gets old after a while. It really does. But what are you going to do? I do have people who watch me. It's funny. People who have asked those questions have been watching me a lot. Like, they would come back. Sometimes I'll retain them. And they'll just like, you're the only Final Fantasy 14 streamer I know. I just watch you only. So you kind of have to answer those questions. But it still sucks after a while.
Yeah, I found ways to enjoy it. I really like focusing on the new player experience. So when I have somebody that comes and asks us questions, I'm always like, come back and let me know how it's been going, because then we can talk about things like, they're like, when do I get my chocobo? And I'm actually a little bit more excited about that.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. All right, Miz, what about you dealing with those questions? Do you selectively
I have robots that answer for me.
I gotcha.
I think my most common question in chat is, what server is Mizzteq on? What server are you on? What server are you on? And so I have two commands. One is exclamation point server, and then one is exclamation point server, because people keep misspelling it, and I like to make fun of them.
Nice.
No, but I don't know. Like, for stuff like that, it's usually you need to either have like godly patience yourself, or have mods that have godly patience. Because I feel like in my case, for example, Solu does a great job of answering questions from new people, especially since if I'm focused on like a raid boss or something and I can't look at chat. I have people in chat that are willing to ask those or answer those questions. So for me, I don't get affected by the constant questions or whatever as much, because a lot of the times it's not me answering it in the first place. So I don't feel like I'm repeating myself too much. But for the most part, I don't even worry about it. It's like a water off a duck's back thing, where if people are asking the same questions over and over again, I don't really mind. Like, if it's within 5 minutes, I'll be like, oh, I just talked about this, and then I probably won't answer. But if it's like on different days, it's usually like a brand new stream. Like, who knows who's going to be there and what they're going to ask. So
I really like that phrase. I'm sorry. I like the
water off a duck's back.
I've never heard it in my entire life. I don't know why. Yeah. Never.
Oh.
Well, now I know. I'm going to use it every day. All right. You see my mods are being very active right now. Mr. Xenos Disfex there. There you go. So I do want to talk about that as a question for you guys. So modding. Whoa, calm down. It's all right. It's just MogTalk. But no, when you guys get mods, how does that whole process work? Like, it's such a weird kind of phenomenon, it feels like, that someone comes into your channel and they're like helping out and they're like trying to make things work for your stream, and they're just being useful. Like, how do you decide, hey, I'm going to get this guy and he's going to be my mod for my stream, and he's going to be there maybe not every day, but a lot of days to help you moderate.
I tricked mine into becoming mods.
Okay.
I was like, hey guys, you want to do this cool thing? Do you guys want to moderate for my channel? It'll be real easy, I promise. And they were like, sure. This is like way back in the beginning when everything was all bright and shiny and everyone was in the honeymoon phase. And so they accepted back then, and I haven't like let them go since.
Nice.
Yeah, some of my first mods were really just like, oh, you watched every day, or you ran stuff with me every day. You're here. Here's the sword. After that point, it really was just watching for people who were really helpful and approaching them and asking them again, hey, you want to help out to this degree? And thankfully, nobody said no to me yet.
Okay.
That I've asked. But even then, I feel like my modships, the mods are actually it's a kind of a evolving process. Not so much revolving door. There's some originals still there. But I found that because I run the cast where I also have some of them on voice with me, I've had to bring on mods specifically for chat and things like that. So it's kind of weird to have to look out for somebody. It's like, can you be a mod for me who stays in chat, and please don't join me in game because I need somebody in chat. Which sounds like a horrible thing to ask somebody that you're not paying money to help you out, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you do when you mod somebody? Do you have to go through a purging phase every once in a while and be like, I have to get rid of, because you have people talking in your chat and they're mods, but they do nothing.
It's the whole mod wall. Yeah. I used to, I early on, I had honorary mods, basically either people that were really active or other streamers or things like that. And I did actually have to go through and purge, or you get mods that have been inactive for a bit and you're like, I'm sorry. I hope you come around. But if the chat is nothing but a sword wall, a lot of people are hesitant. People are hesitant to interact.
Yeah, because they feel like it's kind of exclusive, right? Almost. Are you okay, Miz?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just teed down the wrong pipe.
Oh, nice.
Oh, you're drinking tea as well? All right. Tea buddies.
Tea's wonderful.
High five.
I have some tea downstairs, but I should probably get it. I have a little box tea that's like, I can't ever say it right. It's like Corinthian or something like that tea.
Chrysanthemum?
Yeah. Yes.
Chrysanthemum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that tea
But
so much.
to kind of mirror what Pook was saying is, because he's had like, I'm assuming you said that you don't have the same people that you started off with, right? Whereas in my stream, I basically, the mods that I modded like my first or second week streaming have been my mods this entire time. And so there are like, honestly, I have like a super mod, like you guys know Solu, and he basically is probably, I don't know how he does it. He's like more reliable than I am on stream. So I think I got lucky in that sense where I don't really have to worry about all the mods because I know that I can rely on Solu. So thumbs up to you, Solu. As he like brushes off his shoulder there, I can see him doing it. But I don't know. I feel like that's a very just personal stream thing because it's different for every single streamer that I've ever spoken to and how they handle their mods and like how they do stuff.
I mean, do you guys...
And so I feel like...
Go ahead. No.
I just feel like, in my case, I haven't felt the need to get new mods yet, mostly because I know Solu is always there. But I do notice the issue, like, say, for example, Solu has to be away for a day or something like that, or even something as simple as Solu is currently playing the game with me, and he can't be, like, actively modding chat. Then I can see the void where I do need, more people. So that's, like, a little harder to do, but... It's all you sort of have to water off a duck's back and roll with whatever comes your way, and then sort of adapt that way, I guess.
Okay. I mean, do you go ahead? Sorry, Book.
I was just gonna say, or sometimes you get a 4chan rate of your channel and you mod a few people because they're on their
temporary
phones
mods
banning people.
Yeah. I think I've had something similar to that before on a podcast, and it was really weird. It didn't last long. It got killed almost immediately, but it wasn't like a huge deal to me. I was like, all right, thanks, I guess. Just get out of here now. But no. There was a... my question was, if you have like a mod, do you ever feel like you have to reward them in some way? Do you feel like there has to be some sort of like, how do you keep them around? Do they just like, I like you a lot, I'm just going to stay, and it just kind of works out that way?
Well, I would like to say that most of the mods that I have are like personal friends. So If I was like a billionaire, I would love to pay them.
Right.
But and then like now and then you'll do like giveaways or something for them because you want to give them something. But I don't know. It's like one of those things where there's really not much you can do, especially if you're not a partner streamer, for example. Like you aren't really.
Yeah.
Most people aren't making money when they stream, so the mod system is very much a like charity, almost not charity, but like they're going out of their way to help you.
Volunteer.
And they're doing it volunteer. That's the word.
Yeah.
Charities.
Charity. Yeah.
And then so I feel like they are just they do it out of the goodness of your own heart. And if you find someone like that, then you have to hold on to them forever because obviously they are willing to help you out in that way, and that's invaluable. Like I don't know, it's just finding usually the people that are in chat modding and like answering questions, helping out are of the personality that they would make a good mod anyway, and they don't really, you don't have to worry about them sticking around because that's just what they do.
Okay, that's a good one.
My mods do get a couple perks. They usually find out about what's going on in the stream before other people, but more along the lines of sometimes I'll be like approached for like, hey, we've got this game and we wondered if you would like to stream it, that sort of thing. And but this is a multiplayer game. Would you like a couple keys? And the mods are usually the first people I go to be like, hey, I want to show off this multiplayer game. Do you want this game? But outside of that, it's not like I'm like throwing money or anything at them. I'd love to be able to, but
it's hard. I mean, then you're not going to eat.
No bribes, just contracts that say that if they leave, then family members might go missing.
Put a no compete clause on there. They can't mod for other people.
They can't mod for other people. Yeah.
And that's funny. Even though I said that, I don't mean that like streamers compete with each other. I just thought it'd be kind of funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so the other thing that I'd like to ask you guys here is what are some recommendations you could give to people, especially in regards to Final Fantasy XIV streaming, on how to start becoming a successful Final Fantasy XIV streamer? And Pook is ready to go. What do you got, Pook?
Contribute to the community ahead of time.
Okay.
Like every partnered Final Fantasy XIV streamer I know has contributed something to the community. There are content creators both for guides or for funny videos and things like that nature, or maybe they make really useful Reddit posts, things like that, or they're present and active and moderating in Twitch streams for that game. Basically, if you want, basically it's networking. That's the biggest rule of Twitch is network. Get out there, get your name out there, get people that know you without selling yourself to them. Don't advertise to people. Don't be like, hey, come watch me. Just go out there and be useful. And once people start to recognize your name, they'll come to check you out if they see you live.
Okay. That's pretty good.
I 100% agree with like everything he said.
Okay.
And it's hard because people don't want to hear that, right? They want to just be like, okay, what's the golden ticket to becoming a Final Fantasy streamer or any streamer in that case? And they're always like looking for that quick fix, and the problem is something like this doesn't happen. I mean, unless you're extremely lucky. And so I feel like, especially for Final Fantasy being such a tiny, tiny game, you definitely want to, you kind of want to stand out from like the other one viewer streamers out there, which there are quite a lot of, but at the same time, you don't want to be, I don't know, you're streaming for a game with a tiny community. Why wouldn't you already be part of the community or, try to do something for it? Because I mean, Twitch has so many streamers. Like, I don't think people realize this, but not even just in Final Fantasy, but like so many streamers that literally just turn on a game and play the game and that's it. And yeah. I feel like if you actually want to do above and beyond that, you kind of have to, like Pook said, network. You need to sort of advertise yourself in a way that isn't actually advertising. It's just by making those connections and like doing it naturally and fluidly instead of just like trying to go to say Mr. Happy stream and spamming your Twitch channel in it. That doesn't work. It's like backwards. Yeah. And so I don't know. I feel like it's just the best way to do anything really is to just be passionate about it, contribute to the community in any way that you can, even if it's like something silly like making, I don't know, music videos or something. Not that that's silly. I mean, like something simple is what I tried to say. Okay. But I don't know. I feel like anything that you can do is the step towards it. Like, I don't know why anyone else would be streaming it aside of like not wanting to be part of the community. You can't really stream by yourself or really anything. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm kind of trailing off here because I'm thinking about random things now. But for the most part, I feel like being part of the community is the most important thing to being on Twitch, because it is a huge community.
Yeah.
Especially in a game like this where it seems more community focused. I saw somebody in chat earlier say that this is actually a really good game for building community.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I think it is. This is not a high impact, high octane game. This is a sit down and have a casual talk with your friends kind of game.
Yep.
Right. Yeah, and I do want to hit on that note too about people who they want to go through this method of going out and networking and everything else, but they go the whole wrong way about it. Like, they go into your stream and they're like, "Hey, it's me. Oh man, so tomorrow I'm going to, hey, when are you going to finish streaming? When are you gonna be done? Oh really? I was thinking about starting up right after that. That's what I'm going for." And
at least that's subtle. I've had people literally be like, "Oh man, I'm actually streaming right now, and like, here's my channel." I'm like, "What? Like, what are you doing? Like, what do you hope to accomplish?" Like,
did you just see what happened over on so and so's channel?
Ugh. It's just like, the problem is it's like not.
Mm-hmm.
It's so artificial in like a way to communicate with someone that it makes you, it's like nails on a chalkboard,
Yeah.
It's one of my biggest pet peeves. And I know there's I'm sure most people on Twitch, or I don't know, most streamers on Twitch maybe have seen the like Twitch etiquette little graphic that gets shared around every now and then. And the biggest thing on that is like, don't self-advertise like a dick, like
Right.
Be part of the community, become friends with people. Don't just try to buy your way into something. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's like life, maybe. Although I think in life you can probably buy your way.
Yeah, you can buy your way into a lot
way
of
more.
things, right? I can usually tell when someone's completely being 100% fake and everything with me. I'm like, I'm not really a person you should be fake with, because I'm not going to get you much in the first place. So like, why are you, when you come to me, it makes me feel kind of bad, because people will, I'm in game, right? And then people will say, "Hey, how you doing? You doing great?" I'm like, "I can't really talk right now. I'm raiding." They're like, "Oh, okay. Hey, if you want to tell other people about this, here's this thing that I got going on." I'm like, come on, just I like.
Do you know the people, or is it just like out of the blue?
I know them from coming in and saying that they have their thing going on.
Oh.
So it's like years of them advertising to me behind the scenes, and it feels weird.
Yeah.
I don't enjoy it.
Pro tip, a host will only get you a short bump. Maybe somebody will see you. People aren't going to stick around if you're not the kind of content they don't want to see.
Yeah.
A shout out. Do you know how many people actually click a link on a shout out and follow that person? It's a very small percentage. I know that it's part of our own Twitch etiquette to shout out people that come into our channels, but the number of people that actually will click and follow because the streamer said to is a very small percentage of the people that are watching you.
Yeah.
People are going to watch what they want to watch. So throwing yourself out there and saying, "Hey, host me, bro. I need some help."
Yeah. And it's an artificial way to kind of build yourself up too, because that stuff doesn't stay. If you're getting, because people have their viewers. There's a lot of people who have viewers who like, I'm getting on. I'm going to watch this person. They have like a priority system almost. They're like, I'm going to watch this person. Then if they're not streaming, I'll watch this person, and you're not always going to be at the top of that list, but that's okay. You can't really. I don't know. I never felt like you could ever steal viewers away from someone. I never felt like that, unless if the other person does something horrible. For example, if like Miz came on the stream and she's like, "I hate everyone. Fuck, Frosty's hair looks stupid. I never want to like talk."
Your shirt is wrinkly.
You got a wrinkly shirt. I don't want this anymore. Don't follow him. Then it might be a little bit different. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like people who have followers kind of build their own community. Like Final Fantasy XIV has communities, and some people kind of move around, but they're part of a base community. Like Miz, I'm sure you have like a whole bunch of people who watch you, and if you're not streaming, they'll watch someone else. But mainly when you start streaming, boom, straight to your channel, because they like watching you. They feel like you're their friend. They're comfortable with you, right?
I have friends.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes. That's awesome.
Achievement unlocked. Maybe you get a title for it.
Yeah. I don't know.
But yeah, you're 100% right. And that's what makes it so hard for you to go into an established streamer's chat and then say something as silly as, check out my stream, twitch.tv/420weedblazeit, and then expect people to come to you. You know, like most of the time, those people, because they're part of that community who have never heard of you before, it's not going to be received well at all. You know, like it's just.
And my favorite thing.
It's so awkward. Like I hate it when I see it because it literally makes me cringe.
I do go to those streams every once in a while. My favorite thing is when you go in there and it's just the guy's just sitting there looking at the wall, and that's the stream, and it's just. And then they get angry. They're like, why are they watching this person? They're not good. I'm a better player. But you're not a better streamer, obviously, right? Like, you're not keeping people retained because people want to watch you because of certain things. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is that people that are coming into the streaming community, I guess, without any sort of background to it, they don't really understand Twitch until they are part of it, because they'll come into my channel and see me like failing at Neo or something like completely awful, and yet I'll have people watching and talking and interacting, and then they'll be like, why are you idiots watching this girl? She sucks. And they fail to understand that, okay, they're obviously, I'm not the greatest, but they're watching because we are friends. Like, we have built this community. It's been like 2.5 years of shenanigans and me falling off cliffs and stuff, and it's like a thing that is naturally grown from whatever. So it's, I don't know. It's just like, you want to, if you're going to start streaming, especially in Final Fantasy, you definitely want to, my cat is trying to stick her paw on my teeth. Right. You want to build that naturally, right? You're going to have such a stronger core the more natural your relationships are grown on Twitch, than if you just like go into people's chat and become known as the person that just tries to stream or to advertise or whatever. So I mean, it's all about making those connections.
Does anybody here remember younger going over to a friend's house, playing video games? A few of you, like maybe a game where it's like single player and you're passing the controller around and taking turns and watching the other person, or maybe the little brother gets the piece of shit Mad Catz controller that doesn't actually work. But I feel like Twitch is the internet version of that, and if a lot of people will start to view it that way, of like you're basically visiting a friend and watching them play the game.
Yeah, for sure.
If you can kind of approach it from that angle, then you might understand a little bit more about Twitch etiquette. Like, drop it into somebody's house while they're playing a game and saying, "Hey, come over to my friend's house. He's doing this better."
Yeah. Okay.
It's just awkward.
And I mean, there are statements you can say, like, you can, if you want to talk about something that's relevant, like, you know, like, hey, look, they brought it up in chat, like, hey, so people are talking about Susan Calloway, right? And like, they're like, hey, if you want to watch this interview, here it is. Sometimes that's okay, but if you feel iffy even remotely about it, whisper. And then just be done with it. I mean, ask the streamer, hey, is it okay if I say this stuff? I mean, usually that stuff is way better, even if it's something you were like, that's not even remotely a big deal. You don't know you might not know the streamer that well and their stance on that until you see like a situation happen. So,
but if you were part of their community, you would know what to expect or what they would expect from you, right?
Trying to be a good streamer.
Yeah, like it's just, I don't know. It's a very community-oriented thing. Like, you don't want to go in there thinking you could just, I don't know, brute force your way through it. You want to have relationships. It's like, I know it's really weird, but it's a very social platform, and people, I don't think, realize that.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to go to questions now, and we're going to shotgun through them again, all right? You guys ready? You ready? All right. So, Nia Bari, question: are there any tips to keep Final Fantasy XIV's fans watching your stream when you're streaming other titles? Now, this is a question you.
Answer this better.
This is going to be a question that could take a long answer, but I'm going to challenge you and make it be a short answer. Not too short.
How about if you know the answer, let me know. Because there really isn't. Like, I think a lot of the people that watch for a specific game will always watch for that specific game, and unless you somehow reel them into the watch for me instead camp, or just become part of the community, like core wise or whatever, I don't think you'll ever get those people to come watch you do something else, because it's just not what they're into, and that's perfectly fine. You know, it's just I don't want to make it too long of an answer, but people will watch what they want to see, and if it's if you're playing something else, like, I mean, just stream for yourself, that type of thing. I don't know.
And on days that I was actually concerned about that, or if there's a game I haven't played before and I wasn't sure how my people were going to react to it, I'd split the stream. I would do some Final Fantasy XIV first and then move to that game. I found a little bit better reaction to the switching games rather than starting the game or stream with a game that nobody watched me play before. So if you
it's an excellent idea. And on top of that, you could also like talk about it in advance, because a lot of the times I'll schedule things and I'll be like, okay, you know what, let's play Resident Evil next week. And so you talk about it while you're in Final Fantasy, and then you sort of hype it up in a sense, and then people are like, oh, you know, I would actually want to see that. It's not something I would normally watch, but since Miz is talking about it a lot and people seem to be receptive of it, I'm going to go hang out with them. So it's just like creating that relationship again.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to go through these questions again here, and I'm probably going to have to skip a few of them, so I'm sorry, guys, but I'm going to ask this one. It's directed towards Pook. What's your favorite memory that's happened on stream?
Ooh. Pooksmas. Both the first and the second Pooksmas. For context, for Christmas, not last year, but the year before, I received 3 very large boxes that were marked "Do Not Open" until the December 23rd stream. I had not known that people were plotting against me behind my back. We talk about how loyal our mods are, but there are times I want to stab them. And I did open those boxes on stream, and my current streaming rig was what was in there. It was every single part of it. They bought me an entire streaming rig, which I then built over Christmas.
That's awesome.
I can't actually.
It's nice to know when that stuff happens too, because I mean, it's even when you're not like you didn't go out there and say, guys, please give me a streaming rig, right?
No, I talked about the fact that I'd been setting aside money of my own because I intended to do it, because I had an opportunity with Square Enix to stream Just Cause 3 before its release, and I ran into some frame issues because I was running on a potato. And they're like, and that's actually part of where they got the idea. It's like, he can't actually do what he wants to do. We're going to enable him to do this. And I still haven't thanked them enough for that. So that's probably it.
That means that they actually like you. There you go, Poop. They really like you. Yeah. Okay. And then here's a question from Miz from Odev. How do you get your eyebrows so great?
I was born with
You're born.
I mean, so it's funny because a lot of people that I see that are always like, oh, your eyebrows are fantastic. I basically, my entire childhood, I hated my eyebrows because they were like the huge bushy kinds. And it took an entire childhood of hating them and whatever to eventually come to love them and embrace them. So I think I just got lucky, I guess, and had like ugly duckling eyebrows. And now I can move them and stuff. I don't know.
We'll have a stream where Mizzteq just sits there and plays with her eyebrows all day. I can't do it. I have huge eyebrows. But okay, we're gonna ask one more question. There's a lot of questions that got missed out, guys. I'm sorry, but we are running short on time here. This is from Denmo. He's going to be on the next segment, actually. To both Miz and Pook. He was actually curious, do you guys make a living via streaming? And if not, without getting too personal, what do you do in the meantime?
Do you want to take this first, or
me first, or you? So for the first 2 years, I was working full time and streaming just on off hours or whatever. And now I do part-time-ish of everything. And I'm kind of wanting to become more full-time streamer. So that's like my goal. And it's just a matter of making your way over there.
I am actually legally disabled. And I've been on Social Security disability for the past few years, and streaming is something that has not replaced that income yet, but is something that, as I invest more in it, and now that I'm partnered and I have more opportunities, I am looking to work my way off of disability, and streaming is actually giving me an opportunity to do that. So that's something that I'm really happy to say.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of awesome because streaming is not something you should ever say, all right, well, I'm going to start streaming in a couple of months. I'm going to be, in a year even, I'm going to be like someone who could just live off this and not do anything else. It needs to be something like, hey, this is something you're going to do. It better be a hobby you enjoy doing until it's something more than a hobby, because it's likely going to stay a hobby for quite a while, I would think. Unless if you just get really, really lucky with it.
Or you're like hilarious, or you have some gimmick.
Unless if you're just amazing. Yeah. So unless if you're really good at playing improv piano.
I think it's like any sort of life goal or career goal. You know, like you say you've been working as like a customer service rep for the past 10 years and you enjoy writing, you know, chances are you're probably going to be starting to write while you're working at your customer service job until eventually you're good enough to, you know, possibly get published. And then once you get published, which in our case here would be like partnered maybe, then you can start to even build that further. And then eventually one day in the future, you can get rid of your customer service job and focus on writing full time. So it's kind of like that same thing. It's, I think a lot of like most people I know that have slowly taken the plunge into full-time streaming started with it as like a hobby and then went and worked up to whatever they could do.
Yeah, that sounds exactly right. Okay, I am going to have to end the show up now. We were like 1 minute until the show needs to completely end before I start setting up the next segment here. But I do want to do my personal thanks here, guys. So, Mizzteq, thank you so much for coming on the show again. You are a blast to have on all the time. I love talking to you. It was awesome to have dinner with you over at FanFest, too. That was great.
Yeah, next time we should make a longer dinner so that
yeah.
I'm not jet lagged and I can actually drink and stuff.
Exactly.
But yes. Thank you for having me, as usual.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. And congrats on 100. Holy crap. That's amazing.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Pook, and again, I want to say thank you very much for coming on the show. Every time you come on the show, I love having you on. You give a really great perspective of the Final Fantasy XIV community. That's really hard to get, of a caring and very, very kind person. I feel like I duplicate it with my terms there, but you are, that defines you. You're a very kind, nice, wonderful person that people, again, if you could watch Final Fantasy XIV and you wanted to watch Final Fantasy XIV in the morning and you want to drink coffee and do whatever, Pook in the background's like the best thing in the world. But
thank you.
Yeah. So
thank you for having me. You've had me on so regularly. I'm just like, I was counting earlier how many times I showed up in the clip, and I was like, I hadn't even realized I'd been on the show that much. So, yeah, thanks for thinking I'm, great to have on.
You are definitely are, man. So, okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and finish up this segment. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to these guys. And, of course, watch their streams. Of course, MTQ Capture, Twitch, here we go. And then Pookajutsu. Please follow them. Feel free to take your questions directly to their stream when they're streaming and ask them. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them today. But we will be starting this next segment up in just a moment with Draconis and Denmo. We do have a little bit of setup that we got to do for that. Hope you guys are looking forward to that for content creation. And for the meantime, bye, guys. See you in a little bit. And do your awkward waving, guys.
Keep watching. This is an awesome show. Frosty's an incredible guy.
Agreed.
You guys are absolutely fantastic.